Alright, so we're welcome back. The first of the super globals that we're going to be discussing is the global itself. And the global is a PHP super global variable which is used to access global variables from anywhere in the PHP script. Like we talked about in variables the other time, and we showed a brief example on how to use the super global. Okay, so it's just the same way you used it, having the function and having a global declared in it, and that is how you get your super global. But for this, we can just show you just a refresher to refresh you on what we've taught. So we'll head straight to our text editor and show you what it is. All right, so we have it written out like this in the text editor, and we can go ahead to our browser to echo this out and see what it's going to give us. So if you come to our browser and refresh this, we can have our super globals saying the addition is 100, because what did it do here? We have a variable declared locally, and we have a scope of a global declaring the variable and calling the variable into the function, even though it was declared outside the function. And we call out the addition for it, and we echo out the result for z being a super global. Note that we didn't have to declare z as a variable up here, but the fact that it has a global of z the fact that it has a global of z makes us easy to declare the variable. So for super globals, they are used to declare variables and they can exist anywhere within the file. Alright, now we have the server. The server is a PHP super global variables which hold information about headers, paths, and script locations. Now we have various types of the server, and we'll be echoing them out to see what they are going to give us. So let's go straight to our text editor. Alright, so we can see what the super global for server is going to give us. We are having PHP self, server name, HTTP host, HTTP referral, and HTTP user agent, and script name. Sorry, let me make a correction to this script name. So we'll be heading straight to our browser to see what it's going to give us. So if we have the browser here, we reload, and we can see, okay, I'm having an error saying on line 23. So I'll just go and see. Okay, yes, it's giving me the error. Why? Because it wasn't referred by any other page. That's why we're having this error. But peradventure you are working and you came from a page to that page, it's going to tell you that, oh, this is the page you came from. So this PHP HTTP referrer is used for when you are coming from a page to another. So we can see that from the first one, the PHP self is telling us that this is the page we are on. We are on udevelop/index.php page. Then the server name is saying localhost. Then also the HTTP host is showing localhost also, and referrer I've talked about that. Then HTTP user agent is displaying the name of the machine that is using to hold it, and the name of the browser, and the browsers that are also compatible. We see it's compatible with Mozilla, with Apple WebKit, with Chrome, and also with Safari. So we can see the script name also is showing us the name of the file. So the script name and the PHP self are almost doing similar stuff. So that's how we'll go for the super globals for HTTP server. Now we have the request super global. Now the PHP request is a PHP super global variable which is used to collect data from submitting an HTML form. The next example will show us a form with an input field and a submit button, and when a user submits, the data is collected by a submit and the form data is sent to the file specified in the action attribute of the form tag. In the example, we point to this file itself for processing the data. If you wish to use another PHP file to process the data, you replace that with the file name of your choice. Then we can use the super global variable request to collect the value. This is talking about a request submitting a form. Whenever a form is created and is to be submitted, we can use the HTTP request to get the data from the form and submit it. Let's look at this example. We have a form here. Now, a form is an HTML element that is used for getting information from a user. So if you go straight to our text editor, I will show you how to create a form and how to get the value of the form created. So let's dive in. Alright, so we're back to our text editor and I'll be teaching you how to create a form. So the first thing we start with our opening tag and our closing tag for the form. Every or most of the tags in HTML starts with an opening and a closing tag. Now there are going to be some attributes we're going to be adding, like our action. Our action in HTML shows us where do we want the work to process, where do we want the form to be processed. If a user is filling a form, where do we want it to process? So we can say we want it to process in our HTML request. So we want it to put in the request of this particular page where it is. So for us to do that, we'll be using the server and we'll be saying PHP self and we will echo it so that it displays, and don't forget your parentheses. So now the next feature we have is the method. Now there are usually two methods in PHP for setting or fulfilling a form. We have the get method and we have the post method. But for this, we'll be using the post method. We'll be telling you the difference between the post and the get very soon. So we have that, and we have an input field of type text, which is requesting a name from the user, which is let's say first name first, and we also have an attribute for input called the placeholder. The placeholder is a way of displaying which text or what you want the user to input. So we have first name and we have another input of type submit, where the user is going to submit the form with a name called submit and a value called submit form. The value name holds the name or the text that is going to be displayed on the submit button. So that's what we have. Yeah, so let's preview this in our web browser and see what it looks like. So we see we have a field or an input with the field of first name, and we have a button with the field of submit button. So let's go back and add our PHP code to know that, okay, when this thing submits, what is the next thing it should do. Now, one good programming practice I always entail or I always take note of is to make sure I process my form under or inside the form. Whenever I want to process the form, you can process your form with your PHP script anywhere you want, but for maximum compatibility and effectiveness, I prefer to process it underneath, just beneath the form opening tag. So I have it like this, PHP and close, and I can start giving it whatever I want to give it. Okay, so now I'm going to check to see if the user inputs any data into the form. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a conditional statement to check, because I want to check if he inputs. So I will say if the server and the request method is exactly equals to post. Since we are using a post method here, we want to check if it's exactly equals to post. Now, so if it's equal to post, what should we do? So if it's equal to post, we can set our name, right, equals to request. What do we use? Our name here is the value that is going to be passed into the into the script for the PHP to process. So if the PHP want to get the value for whatever is imputed into this form, we'll use the name attribute to get it. So request method first. So if the server request method is a post method, right, that is to set the name equals to whatever it puts in the first name. So we are going to also make another check to see. So we're going to check if the name is empty. That is, if empty is a function in PHP that says if a field or a value is empty. So if it is empty, so every function we always put them in a parenthesis. Don't let us forget that. So if the name is empty, what should we do? We should echo out no name was imputed, right? But else, don't forget our is and else from our other statement. Else, we should echo out the name, or let's say since we're using first name here, the first name is whatever the variable of the name is. So can we go ahead and check this in our PHP to see, in our code to see what it looks like in our browser? Alright, so we are here with our browser and we are reloading the browser. So I put the first name, I say power, and I click on submit, and it's echoing out the first name is power. Let me add a breaking tag to this so that we can see. Okay, it's asking me if I want to resubmit again. I want to resubmit, so you can see it on top here now that the first name is power. Let's say peradventure I go back to the browser and refresh this. So what did I just do? I went straight to the tab, clicked on it and refresh it. This is resetting the old PHP page. Let's say I didn't put anything and I click on submit. It says what? No name was imputed. I don't know if that imputed is correct, but no name was inputted. So we can go ahead and refresh it, and that is how we get user inputs in PHP. So it's pretty much easy. We'll check it again. We'll have a server request method which is set to post. So we check if the server request method is equals to post. We can now check and say, okay, our name is request of first, and don't forget that first here is the value given to the input of type text where you put your first name. And don't forget, we also put a placeholder first name. We can go ahead. This is a way of validating if a form is to be filled. We can also go ahead and add another attribute here called required. And what does required do? Required makes sure that the form does not submit if all the fields was not filled. So if you go back to our browser and reload this page and try to submit an empty, it will tell you please fill out this field. So required is another way to validate or make sure our PHP our form inputs are imputed before it is submitted.